In a nationally televised game on ESPN last night, the Compton freshman dropped 32 points against Arizona. USC wins by 17. 4 straight for the Trojans. Watkins has had 30 or more points in 9 games. She's 1 game shy of the single-season record set by USC legend Cheryl Miller in 1984-85. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte with the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial. In a public opinion survey commissioned by KBLA Talk 1580 and conducted by Viteris, the black voters surveyed were highly enthusiastic about the March 2024 primary. The race for Los Angeles District Attorney is being hotly contested. Incumbent DA George Gascon's efforts to implement progressive criminal justice reforms have generated pushback from within his own office, the broader law enforcement community, and some in the general public. He was the subject of at least 2 failed attempts to qualify recalls. The concerns about crime are reflected in the polling results of black voters. Nearly 1 in 4 have been victims of violent crime or have someone close to them who has been a victim. 1 in 5 black voters have personally been victims of property crime in the last 2 years. A majority of respondents feel less safe than they did a year or 2 ago, but they reject the notion that criminal justice reform has gone too far. This year, black voters will be looking for candidates who speak to the complexity of the issues as opposed to a one-size-fits-all approach. Nearly half of black voters have an unfavorable view of DA Gascon, but his challengers are largely unknown. Nearly half of the black voters are also undecided, which means there's a clear opportunity for candidates to connect with black voters. Our poll makes 3 things abundantly clear. Black voters matter. Black voters are closely following this race, and the candidates for DA have a lot of work to do. KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to the mobilization and use of the franchise to empower our audience to identify and pursue their interests in advancing equity, inclusive representation, and multiracial solidarity. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. We welcome your feedback.
Waiting for this conversation for over 25 years. I mean that sincerely. For over 25 years, I've been waiting to talk to Theodore Witcher, the director of the best film about black love, one of the best. Claudine was good. I love Claudine. But it is one of the best films ever about black love and the enduring legacy of black love. Love Jones. Turn that up, Miles. I love this track from Deion Ferris. So Theodore Witcher comes in studio as that song rides. And the first thing he says to me was, I've been waiting all these years to talk to you. And I said, Negro, I've been waiting all these years to talk to you. and we finally get together. I've loved this film for the 27 years that it's been out, right? So he says to me, and I'm a huge Prince fan. He knows my friendship with Prince. He says, anytime we want to talk about Prince, we can talk about Prince any day. So I said to him that in our second hour today, our previous hour, we started the hour playing the audio of Prince premiering his Reflection song on my television show 20 years ago today. Hard for me to imagine. I miss him every day. And then Theodore, as music lovers are wont to do, then tells me something that I didn't know about this song, Hopeless. And what you shared with me was what, Theodore?
Well, that's John Blackwell, Prince's longtime drummer, playing. That was his first session. He was from Atlanta. He passed as well. He was from Atlanta, I believe. Played with Cameo, I think, was like his first gig. Fans will correct me if I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. But I was told that was his first studio session. Randy Jackson produced it. Randy Jackson's playing bass on it. Mm-hmm. Van Hunt wrote it. Mm-hmm. Dion, of course. And John Blackwell on drums.
Van Hunt, Hallie's boyfriend.
Hallie's now boyfriend. And incredible singer-songwriter in his own right. Incredible talent, actually. Yeah. He wrote that. And Dion sang the hell out of it. And there you have it. And in fact, there's a lot of talent around that tune because the music video, I actually am in the music. They roped me into being in this damn video. I don't like to do on camera stuff, but I was there, and if memory serves, the video was directed by Arthur Jaffa, who was for people who might not know, the very famous or not very famous but very accomplished cinematographer of among other things Julie Dash's Daughters of the Dust. Mm-hmm. So there was a whole lot of talent associated with that song.
For music lovers like me, and that means many of you, how fascinating is that story? That he comes in talking about Prince. I did not know that. So John Blackwell, Prince's longtime drummer, this is his first session playing drums on this Dion Ferris track. The track is written by Van, who I've known for years, Hallie's boo these days. Yeah. Randy Jackson is playing bass on the track, and we know what Dion did.
Yeah.
See, I've been loving this song for 27 years, and I just learned all that stuff when you show up in the studio.
But that's the whole story of the movie, or certainly the record.
Yeah.
In that a lot of talent just happened to get in the orbit of the movie. A lot of iconic talent just happened to get in the orbit of the movie. And, lightning in a bottle, really.
When we come forward, he's going to unpack that statement that a lot of brilliant talent just happened to get, as he said it, in the orbit of the movie. You know the cast. You know the all-star cast. You know how great they were in the film. You know what they've done since then. But when you hear the director say they just got into the orbit of the film, that begs the obvious. What orbit are we talking about? How did that happen? How did the inertia build? There's a lot to talk about. Tomorrow's Love Day, and I'm honored to have the director of one of the greatest black love films ever made, Theodore Witcher, the director of Love Jones, on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking.
That's what we do around here.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do Black history every single day. In fact, as the only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi, we are Black history. Our annual Black History Month luncheon is fast approaching, and we want to be sure to give you ample time to get your company, organization, church, or group to join us at this year's celebration on the last day of the month, Thursday, February 29th at noon. Last year, we honored iconic local Black media personalities, including Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, Mark Brown, Beverly White, Sandy Banks, and Pat Prescott, and raised $20,000 in scholarships. This year, we're honoring Black Hollywood creatives who have used their artistic genius as climate justice champions. At this year's luncheon, we will be showcasing and sharing their inspiring work on our big screen. Plus, a scrumptious meal, live music, great company, and lots of fun with your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts. So contact us today at info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. That's info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
It's time to represent your community in the 2024 presidential primary election. When you vote, you get to decide what is best for you, your neighborhood, and your family. Use your power. Make a plan to vote today. Visit plan.lavote.gov. That's plan.lavote.gov to get everything you need to vote in the March 5th presidential primary election. Brought to you by the Los Angeles County Registrar.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
Unexpected. Multi-dimensional. Am I losing it? Unexpected sound. The refugee all-star. Yes. The sweetest thing I've ever known was like the kiss on a collarbone.
Do not sleep on the soundtrack for Love Jones. Don't sleep on the soundtrack. I ain't got to the film yet. I ain't got to the cast yet. I ain't got to the storyline yet. We just talked about the soundtrack. We started with a breakdown of Hopeless by Deion Ferris. Here comes Lauryn Hill. You cannot sleep on the soundtrack of Love Jones. Why Love Jones? Because tomorrow, of course, is Love Day. And I've been waiting, as I said, 25 years to have this conversation with the director of one of my favorite films, one of your favorite films, Love Jones, Theodore Witcher. And I was just talking a moment ago, he's in the studio, by the way, live with us, and I'm grateful for that. We were just talking about the fact that he was saying to me, he said, Tavis, I can't believe that people are still so connected to this story, this movie, all these years later. I said, that says two things to me. The first thing it says to me is that you did an excellent job bringing to the fore a brilliant film. That's the first thing. The film resonates because it was and is brilliant. It stands the test of time. That's just a shout out. Kudos to you for just giving us a great project, number one. But the other thing it says to me about why we always go to Love Jones and maybe Love and Basketball, it's a short list. There's a very short list of great black films that have love stories at the epicenter. And so the other reason why we hold on to Love Jones is that there is a dearth and a paucity of great black films about black love. I ask you, Theodore Witcher, why is that?
You know, I'm not sure. There have been romantic comedies in the wake of, around the time of Love Jones and in the wake of Love Jones. Best Man's a perfect example, right? There are movies that have that are sort of like love story adjacent, that have comedic elements. That's a slightly different form. You'll see those. But what you're talking about is the romantic drama. Love and Basketball, another one, my film. And you're hard pressed to think of other romantic dramas. I'm sure somebody has made some, and perhaps I haven't seen it.
That's why I say Claudine.
You know,
way back when.
Claudine goes back. That's
way back.
That's 50 years old.
That's my point.
So
yeah,
it's why would that be? I'm not sure.
You know why? Come on, man.
Well,
you know.
I mean, look.
Keep it real. Keep it real.
Okay, all
right. Straight, no chaser.
Okay.
Keep it real.
It is true that there's still something about the way they see us, and perhaps even to some degree the way we see ourselves.
Hello.
So, because it's not that it's not that if you were making a white film, a film with white leads, with mainstream stars that you recognize, whatever, you could get that story made, I believe. Over the last 20 years, the romantic drama kind of transitioned into the YA space. Okay, so it's a little more younger people now, but still, you could get that kind of thing made. Like the adult version of it is a little, you don't see a whole lot of it, but it's still around. But why can't we get the black version of that? Is it because the filmmakers are no one's interested in telling that story? I don't know. It is even in my case, having made this film, it's been very challenging to get the next one. Very challenging to get the next one made.
It is. I'll come back to that. Put a pin in that for a second. About that challenge all these years later. Something occurred to me as you were just talking, that we live in a world that is primarily populated by people of color.
Sure.
And we live in a country where we're just a few years away from a country that will be majority minority, people who use that phrase.
Right.
People of color will be the majority is my point. I'm not sure I love the phrase majority minority. I ain't no minority, but you take my point. So we live in a world that is populated by people of color. We live in a country that's becoming increasingly populated first and foremost by people of color. And yet films with people of color in them that have love at the epicenter of it, these films don't get made. I've never that disconnect has never sort of occurred to me. It'd be one thing if we lived in an all-white world and there were 10 Negroes in the world. Okay, fine. I understand why you ain't doing a bunch of films about black love. Ain't but 10 of y'all in a very, very white world. But if the world is populated by people of color, and this country is about to be more colored than white, like now might be a good time for somebody to get serious about Love Jones 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
You know, I mean, you're opening a much larger can of worms, and maybe it has to do with the way the sort of marketing imperative of films has kind of, siloed off little segments of the audience to make it easier for them to sell the product to black people. And then it can go even further than like black people. It can go. They try to make movies for a Latin audience. They try to make movies just for action fans. Like whatever the silo is, they keep trying to like divvy up the audience instead of trying to make something that's going to appeal to that has a broad appeal. And so that has to do with how they see us and how maybe even we see ourselves. As I said, it's really difficult to parse out. I was talking to, I don't know, man. It's really difficult to parse out. It's like, do you want? Maybe the theory is, or the belief is, the mainstream audience would not be interested in a movie that has black people in it outside of their narrow version of what they think black people are. I'm actually, I've been thinking about this. I'm actually ready to sort of reassess the 90s movie star career of Denzel Washington and even Will Smith. And maybe it has more cultural significance and more cultural importance on this vis-a-vis this topic than just two successful guys who made a bunch of hit movies. Because particularly in the case of Denzel Washington, who played a range of characters, as Will Smith had kind of like a persona, right? But Denzel is both a movie star and an actor, a rare combination of skill sets, and was able to get across to basically to anybody, just for his own humanity. And then he was able to access what is the primary engine of the movie as Hollywood has created it and produces it, which is that the viewer watches the film and psychologically puts themselves into the dilemma of the protagonist. In other words, they project themselves onto the person who's the lead of the movie and into their particular problem that they're trying to solve.
Yeah.
So for all these decades, that person was white, and not even white, not even like a specific white, because even the specific ethnicity of the white actors, the white movie stars from the Hollywood, from the studio era, was bleached out. These were just generic white people, right?
Yeah.
If you were Jewish, change your name. If you were from Eastern Europe, get your accent together. Like bleached out anything that they thought might not transmit. Like they wanted a blank slate, in other words, that you could project yourself onto. That was a white person then. So then here comes Denzel, who becomes a movie star that we hadn't seen, with the exception of Sidney. He's like literally maybe Richard Pryor in the interim, becomes a huge movie star in the 1970s. Some others, Diana Ross was a huge star in films, and others. But then Denzel really becomes like a superstar.
Yeah.
And he made films where he was clearly black, and yet you could watch the movie and still be not black and project yourself onto the dilemma of the black man. That's actually a significant cultural accomplishment.
But it is indeed. I'm glad you broke that down. This is getting rich, as we say, getting good around here. But Denzel has mastered what each of us should master in our own lives, no matter what our calling and avocation is. And that is, anything that you do ought to be done in a way that other folk can situate their humanity in that thing.
Sure.
That's the trick.
To me, that's the goal.
Trick. That's the goal. Can other people see? I tell my colleagues here at this station that you ought to, first of all, let me we're in Black History Month. Let me just quote Dr. King. Can I people for a second?
Of course.
King said the following: that if it falls your lot in life to be a street sweeper, you should sweep the streets like Michelangelo painted pictures. Sweep the streets like Beethoven composed music. Sweep the streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. If it falls your lot in life to be nothing but a street sweeper, you should sweep the streets so well that when you die, all the host of heaven will pause and say, "Here lived a great street sweeper." And then King admonished us in this way, that each of us should do our work so well, whatever your calling is, whatever your working witness is in the world, you should do that thing so well that the dead, the living, or the unborn couldn't do it any better. That's a tall order.
Sure.
That the dead, the living, or the unborn couldn't do it any better. But the way to succeed at doing that is to do that work so well that others can situate their humanity in that work and in that witness. And Denzel has mastered that, and that's the point I think you're making. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the goal of, first of all, in the movie business, because of the economics of the movies, because they're so expensive to make, you are forced to try to appeal to as large an audience as possible. If you write a book and you sell 100,000 copies, you're on the New York Times bestseller list. You're a huge success in the publishing world. If I make a film and sell 100,000 tickets, my career is over. So you have to appeal to a large number of people just on the practicalities of the machinery of making films. But it is, and it should be, and is the artistic imperative to tell a story that can be specific in its cultural depiction, right? That is clearly a black man. That is clearly a Latin man, whatever have you. That's the enlivening part. But the impulse, the underlying engine of the story should be to advance the cause of you see me, you can see yourself in me, you can see my dilemma in you, your dilemma in me, and that is to increase the empathy.
So let me flip it then, because now we may be onto something here. Maybe that's the reason why, and bring this back to Love Jones. Maybe that's why we haven't seen more Love Jones type films. Because what Denzel has mastered as an individual is his mastering it as an individual. But writ large, if the other folk can't situate their humanity in our experience,
right?
You see where I'm going here?
Yeah.
Then that explains why you don't see more black love stories.
Yeah, but they do when they see it.
Yeah,
it's just getting it made. I mean, Love Jones is played all over the world.
Yeah,
I get calls from like in Korea and in Europe and elsewhere. And I'm like, I had no idea the Korean people would watch, would get anything out of this.
They are people of color, though.
Okay.
Theodore.
But if you tell the story, if the focus of your storytelling is on the humanity of the characters, and that the dilemma that they're facing is essentially a human dilemma, and you do that with some, with as much artfulness as you can, you can't help but move people. Yep. The trick is getting the damn thing made and in front of a marketplace. That's the trick. All right.
Let me ask, I got 2 minutes to go, and then we'll continue when we come forward. I'm glad I got you for the whole hour. You see why I needed an hour with you?
Sure, I understand.
And I'm glad
I said yes.
All right, I'm glad you said yes, too. So 2 quick questions here in the 2 minutes I have right now. One, we were talking earlier about the soundtrack, and we broke down the Deion Ferris.
Well, we can come back to that, too.
We'll come back to it right now. You whispered to me that you actually tried to get Prince, who we talked about earlier. Yeah. You tried to get Prince on the soundtrack?
I did.
And what did he say?
I cut a scene in the movie to a Prince song. Do you know the song Shh?
Yes.
That he wrote, that Tevin did.
Right? Absolutely.
I was like, I got to have that for this particular scene.
Okay.
And so this was in the period when he was what I call like his angry Prince phase, when he had fired everybody and was basically running his own affairs. So we put it in the movie. We called his office, Paisley Park, for the clearance. Could not get anybody to answer the phone. At the time, I didn't know anybody who could get to him. And we called like many times until the very last moment where we had to take it out if we didn't have a clearance because the thing was going out. And it wasn't a no. It was never got a hold of him. So I replaced it with another song. And then I told him years later, I said, man, I
and what did he say then?
I said, I tried, and because we were having a conversation about his song On the Couch.
Sure.
And I said, thank you for that. And he said to me that he was a huge fan of the movie. And all I could think about was, damn it, man.
So Prince was almost on the Love Jones
almost
soundtrack.
on the record.
But he was actually in the film. You had to pull it out.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's why I love these backstories.
Yeah.
That you had to pull it out because you couldn't get a clearance on it.
Yeah.
All right, so when we come forward, we're going to go straightway into this conversation about the orbit that he referenced earlier, that pulled in all these great artists, these great thespians who we now know as the cast of Love Jones. Tomorrow, of course, is Love Day. And I say it for the third time, I've been waiting a quarter century to have this conversation. People oftentimes ask me, all the time, who have you not talked to that you want to talk to? And I've been blessed to talk to pretty much everybody, but I ain't never talked to Theodore Witcher until now about Love Jones, and I'm glad about it. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom. If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A nor'easter is expected to raise the risk of flooding along the New England coast as heavy snow hits across parts of Pennsylvania and southern New York today. Winter storm advisories and warnings are also in effect for northern Arkansas, Oklahoma, along parts of Missouri and Kentucky. In Illinois, the family of a man who was gunned down by West Suburban Carroll Stream police are devastated after viewing body cam video of that incident. Isaac Goodlow was shot and killed on February the 3rd after cops responded to a domestic violence call at his home. His relative released a statement saying officers acted recklessly and in violation of Isaac's constitutional rights when they shot an unarmed black man. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Did you know Discover wants everyone to feel special? That's why with your Discover card, you have access to 24/7 customer service, as well as $0 fraud liability, which means you're never held responsible for unauthorized purchases. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Limitations.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers could have moved into the top spot in the Western Conference with a win over Minnesota last night. They didn't come close. The Clippers lost by 21 in Crypto.com. Minnesota shot 54% and had 33 assists. The Lakers are back in action tonight against Detroit. 7:30 tip-off at Crypto. Women's college basketball fans around the country now know that Juju Watkins is a legitimate star. In a nationally televised game on ESPN last night, the Compton freshman dropped 32 points against Arizona. USC wins by 17. 4 straight for the Trojans. Watkins has had 30 or more points in 9 games. She's 1 game shy of the single-season record set by USC legend Cheryl Miller in 1984-85. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice, and injustice. The courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Ariva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Ariva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. We're not just a thermometer recording and broadcasting popular opinion.
We aim to be a thermostat,
transforming the conversation about climate justice in our community. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
We all agree that America has a very serious problem.
Okay, KBLA delegation, we need your help as we launch our 2024 Climate Justice Campaign. We would deeply appreciate you going to our KBLA 1580 website and filling out a short climate justice survey, which will help us better serve our beloved community as we build out this campaign. It'll take you just a few short minutes to complete the online survey, and the information you provide us will be invaluable as we do our part to hold folk accountable and amplify the voices of our people in this climate conversation. When you take the survey, you'll be automatically entered to win seats at our annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 29th. So, hit our website at KBLA 1580. Help us out by taking the short climate justice campaign survey, and you could be our guest at our annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 29th. Thank you in advance for your consideration and cooperation. At KBLA Talk 1580, we care about the community, we care about the climate.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
If you're looking for the most epic place on Earth, let's start at the base of a massive waterfall. Then trek through the thick jungle. Then climb to the peak of a snowy mountaintop. Then once you get there, keep going. Because with intelligent 4x4 and 7 drive modes and a Nissan Pathfinder, the search is the real adventure.
Available feature. Intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
eBay Motors is here for the ride.
120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
He's rooting for everybody black.
Everybody black.
More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now. Right now.
He didn't get Prince on the soundtrack, but he got Maxwell, you got Lauryn Hill, you got Deion Ferris. Don't sleep on the soundtrack for Love Jones. We are honored and thrilled. I'm just tickled. You can probably see the grin on my face through the radio. I'm thrilled after 25 years plus to finally be in dialogue with the director of Love Jones, Theodore Witcher, as we celebrate tomorrow Love Day. And I'm just learning so much about the backstory to this film, how Prince was almost on the soundtrack and they couldn't close on the licensing. And now I learned during this break, you let that ride for a second, Miles. I learned during this break, there was a great music producer that you probably heard of. Some of you may have known him. But Andre Harrell, Uptown Records. Andre later ran Motown. Andre is a bad boy. And bad boy. Andre is a bad boy, and he's gone now. We miss him dearly. But I knew Andre, and Theodore, of course, knew Andre. And we were just talking moments ago about why there aren't more black love stories on film. So before you started shooting Love Jones, what did your friend Andre Harrell tell you?
Well, let me preface this by saying I am not trying to slag off on or diss Andre. I loved Andre, and he was great. However, he did say this to me. He was there in Chicago on some business, but I had to meet with all of the record companies to figure out where we were going to try and make a deal to do the soundtrack. He was running Motown at the time, and he and I met in the VIP room at Chick Rick's one night.
I'm just laughing about that. Go ahead.
And everybody from Chicago of a certain age might remember.
You are on in Chicago right now. Go ahead.
Right, so he and I, and he was like, I'm like 26 or whatever. He's like, okay, young man, what's your movie about? Like, they just told me I had to have this meeting. I told him the story, and he said to me, and this is right before we started shooting. We were still prepping the movie. And he basically tried to discourage me from even doing it because he said, there's no urgency to love. There's no urgency to, black people are not interested in love stories. There's no urgency to it. This was in an era when all of the movies were basically like hood movies. They were like the concerns of the movie were, the movies were much harder.
And Andre's telling you there is no urgency
and he says
to black love.
Specifically, there's no urgency to black love.
Wow.
Maybe perhaps he meant as a movie idea or as a marketing concern. I don't know. But I took tremendous offense to this. And I was like, I'm going to show him. And I changed the last line. I changed Darius's last line in the script where he says, "Love is urgent like an MF." Like an MF.
Yeah.
I changed that specifically in response to what Andre told me that night at Chick Rick's. So the line became iconic, and everybody says it all the time. And Andre, once he saw the movie, completely turned around. He was like, I was completely wrong. Every time I would see him, it was like,
but that line was written Courtesy of Andre Harrell.
Curtis, that
conversation with Andre.
That line is in the movie because he said that to me.
So for all of you Love Jones fans who love that line, now you know the backstory to how that line got. That's why I love these conversations. You learn the backstories. Now, let me just push on this right quick. Andre may have been right in the following. When Love Jones hit theaters, it did not kill at the box office. It has become a cult classic. As I said earlier, one of the best films ever made. My top 3, number 1 for me. I put this at 1. I put Claudine at number 2.
Well, no,
that's for me. That's for me.
Okay.
Love and Basketball, definitely top 5.
Let's not get carried away.
That's just me.
I'll let you have it. Okay, all right.
I got my. I'm entitled to my top 5, Theodore, with you.
All right.
Got my top 5. Now, that said, it did not kill at the box office, even though over the years it's become a cult classic. So maybe, even though Andre liked the film, on the economics about black love not being urgent, maybe he was right.
Maybe he had a point. Doesn't mean you shouldn't. Well, I mean, that is the reason to do it.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to move the needle on the culture, on everything. You're trying to get the ball down the field. So he's right, or perhaps he was right, in the sense that it's an idea that just seems so foreign to him. That would be something that a large number of people would be seeing, which is exactly the reason why you got to push.
How did you feel on opening weekend when black people did not come out in droves to see this film?
It wasn't opening weekend. We were on 800 screens, or about 820 screens, which was an okay size release for that kind of movie at the time.
Right.
As long as you target the theaters, as long as you're in the right theaters where black people are, then you're going to be okay. So I called the studio on Monday, and I said, I called the president of the studio, Mike DeLuca, and I said, "Are you happy with the numbers?" And he said, "We'll be fine." Now, I guess he was just being kind to me. But so I wasn't really put off by opening weekend, but then the movie basically winds up at like 12.5 or something like that, about $12 million worldwide, which is not a great number, and impeded my ability to get something else made.
It cost what to make it?
The movie cost $7,
and it made 12.5.
Movie cost $7. They spent $9 on P&A.
Yeah,
and so you're in for 16.
Yeah.
Which means you have to do 30 something, somewhere around 30.
Yeah.
And another little bit of bad luck, bad timing. This was right the same year they introduced DVD. So DVD as a revenue stream, as an ancillary downstream revenue stream, right, had not really established itself. A few years later, you would have made millions, millions upon millions, tens of millions in DVD returns. But we were a little early on that.
Let me ask you point blank. Did you ever say to your friends, your mama, your family, anybody, I'm sick of these Negroes. I gave them a classic love story, and these Negroes let me down.
No.
I gave them what they don't get. And they didn't show up.
No. Those aren't the audience aren't the Negroes that let me down over the last 30 years.
Okay.
But I never jabbed at the audience because why would I? Because as the film acquired its audience.
Information for all 3 exhibitions are available at skirball.org. That's skirball.org. SKIRBALL.org.
It's game day at Jim's house, and the spread is impressive.
Mike's already done some damage with the hot wings, and now he's dropping back and going deep for another slice of pizza.
I sure hope he brought the Pepto.
Mike knows the Pepto-Bismol provides fast 5-symptom relief from unexpected stomach upsets. He's no rookie.
The way he's throwing back those nachos, he's the GOAT.
Be ready for game day with Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Are you facing an unexpected financial emergency? You need WeFixMoney.com. WeFixMoney.com can help you get up to $3,000 fast. WeFixMoney.com is free to use, available 24/7, and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Go to the name you trust, WeFixMoney.com. If you need emergency cash up to $3,000 for bills or anything else, type WeFixMoney.com directly into your browser. That's WeFixMoney.com.
More honesty than you can handle.
More empowerment than you can imagine.
You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
All right, Theodore, with your director of Love Jones, I'm watching my clock. It's getting away from me. How did this cast get in the orbit of doing this film that you referenced earlier?
Here's the scary part.
Okay.
This actually scared the hell out of me because you realize that so much of it is, as a director, is actually out of your control. And that when it works, you're like, I don't know if I can repeat that because so much of it is serendipity. What I call the movie gods. You make your sacrifice to the movie gods, and hopefully they smile on you. And in this case, they did. Lorenz, as I said many times, Lorenz was the studio wanted Lorenz because he had been in Menace for them, which was a hit, and I had written it for Jada Pinkett Smith.
Pinkett then.
Jada Pinkett.
Yeah.
And she left the project, sort of left us not too far before we started.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, so who do we replace her with? And Nia had worked with our executive on the movie, Helena Echegoyen, Helena Perez now. She had worked with her on Friday for the same studio, which was a hit. So we mentioned her to the studio. It was like, oh, great. So now we have 2 stars from 2 movies that have made money for us. So we're okay. So I had dinner with Nia, and Nia's from Brooklyn. Her father's a poet. So she got the world of the sort of black bohemian world of the film. She got it instantly and was like, great, I'll do it. And then Lorenz had to sort of approve me because he wasn't really interested in working with a first-time director, but he liked the script. So we met, and we kind of, worked it out, and then he signed on. And then for the rest of them, it's just straight luck because I had met Isaiah.
Yeah.
Robbie Reed had brought me to Isaiah just on a general meeting. He just had read the script, I think, and had liked it and wanted to meet me. I knew of him from like Crooklyn. And I had another actor in that part. I'm in Chicago. We couldn't get that actor off his TV deal. Friday. It's like Friday. The part works on Monday. And I called Isaiah and I said, "Bruh, you have to do me a favor. Can you get to Chicago? Can you get it's literally Friday?" And I said, the part shoots on Monday. Can you get here? Basically for no money, by the way. And he said, "I love the script. I'm there." And they got him on a plane like the next day. And then we rehearsed on Sunday. We rehearsed a bit on Sunday. He was completely prepared. Showed up on Monday and started
and killed it.
And started killing it.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff is scary because what if the right actor is unavailable or you can't make his deal or whatever, and then you don't get the perfect cast.
Yeah.
In this case, got the perfect cast.
I mean, when you hear these backstories, it to your point, it is a little scary.
Frightening.
Frightening because you realize the willy-nilly nature of how this came to be.
It wasn't me. I had another guy. But his showrunner wouldn't let him out of his contract.
Wow.
So am I a genius because Isaiah Washington's in the movie? No. I just knew him and thought he was great.
Between us, nobody's listening.
Yeah.
Who was the other guy?
Do we
know who he is?
Yeah. It was Gary Dourdan.
Wow.
I used to hang out with Gary.
Gary was just here not too long ago. They were touring the there's a stage play about New Jack City.
Really?
There's a New Jack City stage play that toured last year.
Okay.
And last year Gary and the entire crew were in this studio. So I just saw Gary.
I love Gary.
Yeah.
And he was a thing at the time. He was on some Dick Wolf show. He was on Law and Order or something. One of these like Law and Order shows.
So Isaiah got the role that Gary
was going to play Savan.
Wow.
And it was because Dick Wolf wouldn't let him out of his contract. And that's I literally called Isaiah at home on a Friday.
And the thing is, I got to run right quick. The thing is, when you see,
it seems perfect.
Oh, that's my point.
Like so perfectly designed.
When you see Love Jones, I can't imagine anybody else playing these characters.
Of course.
But it almost didn't happen.
You couldn't
for Nia,
you
for Isaiah.
You don't see Jada in the part.
Yeah.
Isaiah. Now Bill was always there.
Yeah.
I had another actress for Josie,
right,
who was known at the time and who was very good. But then I was going to make her deal, and then the last tape that came in, the last tape was Lisa Nicole Carson, And I was like, no, that's her.
Our remaining moments with the director of Love Jones, Theodore Witcher, when we come forward.
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Thea Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chuchas Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Meet Cheryl. Hey. She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel gave it thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roger was a fan of was a real proponent of the movie, and Gene Siskel as well.
Yeah. Bill Bellamy.
Yeah. Bill was. I wanted Bill from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I wanted a comedian in the part. He seemed right. He was super popular. He was like the #1 VJ on MTV. Yeah. There were a lot of reasons to hire Bill.
Yeah. I love Sonia Sanchez. She's my dear friend. This program is heard in Philadelphia right now on WURD. Shout out to the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection.
Yes, sir.
The home of Sonia Sanchez. How'd you get Sonia Sanchez?
We called her publisher, I believe, and because it was in the thing, so we had to clear it, and she cleared it, and then she sent me a box of all of her books of poetry.
That's Sonia Sanchez.
And signed
them all.
All of them.
That's
I
right.
have a box of her collected works.
That is her.
That was just a gift.
Yeah.
So if she's listening, shout out to Sonia Sanchez.
Yeah. When you look back, I got just about 2 minutes here left. We could, as I said, I could do another hour just on all these backstories about Love Jones. Now, when you look back on this film, what do you make of the legacy of what it has become as a classic in this genre?
Well, I'm more shocked than anything else because the goal is the only test of whether a movie's any good or really any work is any good. You can't go by the box office or how many records you sell or none of that or even what the critics say. The only test is time. And if people return to it, you know, at some point in the future, and it still has some kind of value to them, then that's really the ultimate and truly the only reliable test of whether you did something that was any good.
Theater Witcher, you have.
So I'm glad. Shout out to the audience. I appreciate all the fans, people who hit me all these years. For all these years, it's been very gratifying. So I appreciate all of it.
It has stood the test of time. It is a classic. And again, I've been chasing this conversation for 25 plus years, and I finally.
Well, let's not chase it for another 25. You know?
I finally tracked him down.
I mean, come on.
And got him in studio. His name, as you well know, is Theodore Witcher. He is the writer and director of the film Love Jones, and what a film it is. Theodore Witcher, thank you. I mean, let me just say this. I don't want to be hyperbolic, and I'm not. This film has. I use my friend Tasha's words. This film has blessed so many of us. Time and time again. So thank you for the blessing of Love Jones.
Well, you're welcome. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
That's our show for today. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing, to do it all over again. Until then, thanks for listening to Tavis Smiley. And as always, keep the faith.
Just a little too long.